Ladies and gentlemen, in today's video I'm going to show you several easy methods on how you can get about 20 levels in a relatively short time period. I know that there are a lot of videos floating around with some clickbait thumbnails and people claiming that they went from level 1 to 150 in a single day. Since I'm not a fan of clickbait, this is going to be the more realistic version of that. Yesterday when I started this I was level 126 and about 5 hours later I just reached level 146. Let's get started. The first thing that I focused on was getting eliminations with specific weapon types and just getting eliminations in general. In case you weren't aware, we have specific community created LTMs that are being made available daily or every other day, and those game modes are basically a deathmatch with probably the best weapons available in the game. Keep in mind that if you're watching this video on the day that I uploaded, the LTMs that I've been playing are most likely still available, but if you were to watch this video in about 2 weeks from now and you still want to get the same results that I did, then you're going to have to check which of the LTMs that are available will match your needs the best. Okay, so in order to get the 20 level ups that I was talking about, I have been focusing specifically on the milestones. I made a detailed video about this earlier this week which specifies all 65 of them. And basically what you want to do is make a certain amount of eliminations with an assault rifle, and then once you reach that target, it's going to give you 12,000 XP. Then you're going to go to the next stage, then you'll switch over to a shotgun, and you just keep repeating that process with different weapons. The milestones that I recommend you focus on when you're playing any of the LTMs which are focused on purely getting eliminations are assisting teammates with eliminations, dealing damage from above, and damaging opponents in general. In order to assist your teammates with eliminations, you just want to make sure to hit every single opponent that's walking around on the map once, and then just switch over to a different one. It doesn't matter if it's going to take your teammates maybe 10 or 20 seconds to eliminate that opponent. When they do, you will get an assist regardless. Dealing damage from above is something you don't necessarily have to focus on either. I would just recommend finding yourself a good position to snipe enemies from, or whenever you enter a build fight, make sure that you have the high ground and then just start shooting down. And then for damaging opponents in general, this is also going to go really fast because most of the weapons that are available in those LTMs, they will be of legendary or sometimes even exotic rarity, and they're just going to deal way more damage than the normal weapons that you find in solo duos, trios and squads. Then we're going to switch over to specific type of eliminations. There's eliminations with an assault rifle, for which the first tier unlocks at 3 eliminations and the last one at 150. I can say that this is going to be very easy, but this obviously depends on your skill level. I was getting about 200 to 250 eliminations every 30 minutes, which was absolutely insane, but it did allow me to complete these milestones very fast. When it comes to assault rifles, I definitely think that you want to max this one out. Then there's eliminations with explosives. I was using a boom bow for this. I just really like playing with that weapon. Although 150 eliminations with a boom bow might take some time, so maybe you want to stop this one at 75. Then there's headshot eliminations. If you find opponents that are standing AFK, then obviously it's going to be way easier to do this. Get yourself a weapon that deals the lowest amount of damage possible, maybe a pistol or an SMG, so that you can deal more hits to your opponent's head. There's eliminations with pistols. For this one I also recommend going to 75. Unless you really like pistols, then you can maybe get the last tier as well. Players eliminated will first trigger at 5 and the last one is going to trigger at 500. I think that if you play this game mode for maybe 2 or 3 hours, you should be able to check off all of that. Then there's eliminations with shotguns. This one is pretty similar to the assault rifle. I think you want to max this one out as well. And then for SMGs you want to go to 75, at least that's what I would recommend. Sniper rifles can be absolutely horrendous in game modes like this just because there's so much chaos going on. So if you find an opponent that's standing AFK, then you maybe want to try spawn killing that one. But if that's not a possibility, or if the map is just way too large for that, then maybe try to go for 25 at least. And lastly, there's also harpoon eliminations. A couple of people pointed out that harpoons are unfortunately no longer available in normal game modes, but if you play any of the creative LTMs, you might be able to get a harpoon gun from any of the vending machines, and that should allow you to complete this milestone. Hypothetically speaking, if you complete all of the milestones that I just discussed, you will be able to get 780,000 XP, which is a whole bunch. Additionally, if you find yourself a weapon that can deal explosive damage to yourself, and you have the opportunity to pull healing items from vending machines in an LTM, such as mini potions or bandages, you may want to go ahead and do that one as well, because there are 2 different milestones. For one, you have to use bandages and medkits. The first one unlocks at 25 used, and the last one at 1000, which is a whole bunch. I recommend maybe doing the first 2 tiers. And then the same thing applies for the shield potions. If you were to complete those 2 as well, then you're gonna be able to get an additional 120,000 XP. Moving on, we're going to go to Team Rumble, and this one is going to help with distance traveled while gliding and distance traveled while swimming. When you're on Spawn Island, you want to make sure to build a ramp or go to the edge of the map, and just when the battle boss countdown is reaching maybe 5 or 3, depending on how high you are, you want to jump off the ledge and deploy your glider. What it does is that the distance that you travel from the spawn island to the battle bus, which is on top of the main island, will be counted as distance you traveled while gliding because you were in your glide animation just before you entered the battle bus. And then you can also do the same thing, but then with swimming. This is also possible in other game modes such as solo, duos, trios, or squads. But since you cannot redeploy your glider there, you have to do that one in Team Rumble. While you're at it, make sure to thank the bus driver as well. It only requires you to press one button, and in order to unlock the last stage, you will need to have done this a total of 200 times, so you may as well get started with it. Completing these 3 milestones will give you a possible 180,000 XP. Speaking of Team Rumble, if you actually want to play some matches, there are 2 additional milestones that you can complete. The first one is melee damage to opponent structures. This one seems like a lot, but you know, if there's an opponent that built a large structure and you just remove the bottom one with your pickaxe, it's gonna count everything as being destroyed with your pickaxe, which will make this go a lot quicker than you think. Obviously, you can also complete this one in any of the LTMs where you have access to your builds. And then the last one is player structures destroyed in a vehicle. This one might be a little bit more difficult since Team Rumble has been nerfed significantly, but if at the start of the match you go ahead and find yourself a UFO and bring this to the zone, you need to keep in mind that every single player will have access to 45 structures, and they just spawn with that. They can get even more builds by just farming materials. But yeah, just look for any enemy that's building a structure or maybe several of them. Make sure to keep your UFO at the highest spot possible so that they can't shoot you down, and start shooting a couple of beams. This one, I think you should be able to complete in one game. The max tier unlocks at 300 structures destroyed, which really isn't a lot. Now these 2 milestones will be good for another 120,000 XP. And this brings me to my final 2 methods, which has to do with meat, fruits and vegetables. If you manage to find yourself a boar and maybe some chickens, then also try to find a shield potion or a medkit or anything that you can throw. Once you have a stack of 4 meat, what you want to do is throw a singular one on the floor. Also throw away your shield item or your medkit, then switch over to the remaining meat in your inventory, press and hold this on the shield item, and what it's going to do is it's going to pick up the shield item, drop the meat that is in your hand, and it will combine with the meat that's already on the floor. If you don't have the press and hold option, you will need to enable it in your setting. But yeah, this will count all the meat that's on the floor as new meat, and once you pick it up, this will start progressing towards your milestone, and it's going to allow you to complete the first 2 tiers relatively easily. Now for the last method, you want to land at either Catty Corner or the orchard. Farm yourself a whole bunch of fruit and vegetables, go to the campfire and start consuming them like crazy. There are 4 different milestones that you can complete with this. The first one is consuming forage items in general. Then there's consume apples, consume bananas, and consume mushrooms. Alternatively, you can also go to the northwest side of Coral Castle, and there you can find a lot of bananas lying on the floor underneath the trees. For shield items, the mushrooms, you can go to Weeping Woods and just make your way around it, picking up every single one that's available. And as I just mentioned, you can find a lot of apples at the orchard. All of this should be good for another 240,000 XP. That brings the total amount of XP of all the methods that I just discussed to a little over 1.5 million. And that should definitely get you to about 20 levels. Keep in mind that individual results may vary. You could also get 15 levels while some other people could get 25. But I think that if you aim for 20, that really should be possible with only a couple hours of playtime. And unfortunately, you cannot repeat this. Once you've completed the milestones, you can't uncheck them and get them again. So if you get those 20 levels, you're going to have to find different methods to get XP. But as per usual, once I find something that's really good, I will most definitely make a video about it and share it with you guys. All of the milestones that I've been talking about can be found in the description below, as well as the total amount of XP that you can get. For now, I want to thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. If you want to support me further, you can use code PerfectScore in the item shop. I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace!